general study abroad information session for folks. I'm Ashley Trebasacci, and I will be the one kind of leading us through tonight. But of course, like I said, feel free to ask any questions that you've got in the chat or unmute and ask them. We also might have one of our study abroad ambassadors joining us in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, this is supposed to be helpful just for parents and families and students, just to get a sense of the overall study abroad process at Brandeis, how it works, who the people in the office are, so that you feel like you know who you're talking to, and kind of the overview of how to go about this process. So first things first, who are we? So I'm Ashley, I'm a study abroad advisor, and Ari is another study abroad advisor in the office. We do a lot of the advising for students who study abroad for any time during the semester, during the summer. Alicia Cardwell, our director, also does some advising and oversees the office. And then Erica Martinson is our senior department coordinator. So she's kind of the first person you see when you come and visit the office in person. So that is our small but mighty team. And our mission, which I'll just quickly go through, is to help all students take advantage of the opportunity to study abroad. We don't want anything to be a barrier to students, from finances to anything like that, what you're studying. So we just try to strive to help every single student find the best program for them and figure out how they can go somewhere else and study in a new context, gain a new experience, and learn abroad. So as I said, I'm Ashley, and this is Sydney, who's one of our study abroad ambassadors. The ambassadors are all always happy to talk to you about study abroad opportunities, share their own experiences. They have great insight, and they hold office hours weekly in the office, and also will be doing so on Zoom or other places around campus. So definitely feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions or you don't quite know where to start. They're a great resource too. So a quick agenda. Tonight we'll just go through kind of like the beginning of how to choose a program. I think that is intimidating for a lot of folks, and there's a lot to choose from. So we'll talk through how do you go about thinking about that. The eligibility requirements for study abroad, a little bit about billing and financial aid and scholarships. We also will have a separate financial aid and finances overall info session tomorrow at noon. So if you're interested in that, I can drop the link for that in the chat as well. We'll also talk a little bit about the Brandeis Run programs. So these are special programs that are facilitated by Brandeis and have some pretty cool opportunities in really specific areas, and they're really exciting. So we like to talk about those. We'll talk a little bit about the application process, and then kind of resources and support for students and families, how you can get in touch with us, all of that good stuff. So I guess the first question is, what is study abroad? So it's the opportunity to gain academic credit or take classes, be in an academic setting, and earn credit towards your academic degree at Brandeis by studying in another country, in another context, for either a semester, a year, or for a summer. So there's a few different opportunities and ways to do that. And people are often like, well, why study abroad? Like, I like being at Brandeis. I think a lot of students, especially now, are wondering, like, is it time or is it right for me to take time away from campus or to take a summer away from campus? But there's a few things that you might get from study abroad, or you might want to consider as you're thinking about the process. So a lot of people study abroad to either complement or expand on your academic studies at Brandeis. So maybe there's a class that you took that you really, really like at Brandeis, and you wish that you had more opportunities to dive more deeply into that. That could be a reason to go abroad, or to continue to build upon your studies abroad. A lot of people will go for personal growth, to kind of get out of your comfort zone, gain some independence, gain confidence. That is something we hear from a lot of folks when they come back. Another reason, of course, is to gain exposure to different cultures or languages that you might have been studying, or you might have an interest in, or an interest in learning about more deeply. And the last thing I would say is the career benefits too. So often employers or graduate schools are looking for students who have had some kind of unique experience during their time in college, and study abroad is definitely something that can contribute to that. So what are the program options? Well, Brandeis works with other either US-based or international partners who are the ones who facilitate the process on site. And so when you're looking at the program list that we work with, you'll see who Brandeis has a relationship with and where you can study abroad, either at a university abroad, through a study abroad program, etc. So there's more than 200 approved study abroad programs at Brandeis, and they are in about 60 different countries, including the US. So there are lots of opportunities for you to go abroad to all different sides of the world. Okay, so how do you narrow down the programs and what are the types of programs? So any approved programs, what we mean by that is programs that have been vetted and assessed by Brandeis for their academic quality. So they've gone through the undergraduate curriculum committee, the faculty have approved and said that their academics are of a high enough rigor to be comparable to Brandeis. They are programs that have been assessed for health and safety support. So we know that they have enough student affairs support, that they have staff on site, that they're there 24/7 when you need something. And they also have been assessed for on-site support and engagement. So how do they help you get integrated into the local community? What are the opportunities for you to engage with other folks on your program or to do things outside of the classroom? The different program types vary. So there are usually about 4 different types, and some of them can kind of fit into a few different categories. So the direct enrollment program type would be where you're an international student essentially at a large direct enroll university. So say you're studying at the University of Edinburgh or Auckland University in New Zealand. You are one of many, many study abroad students and many international students. You're taking your classes with local students who go there full time. You have full access to the university as if you were a student there. So that is what we mean by direct enrollment. Study center programs are programs that are often either language-based or they are programs that have been specifically built for study abroad students. So often on those types of programs, you're taking classes with other students who go to other US institutions who are also studying abroad in the same location. Internship programs are programs that are specifically catered to or built around an internship experience. So usually for the programs that we approve, the internship would count as one of your courses, but you would have that kind of hands-on work experience throughout the semester or towards the end of the semester that complements your classes, your like traditional classes in a different way and allows you to get to know the work culture in the place that you are studying. And then the last type would be field study type programs. So these are programs that are going to be super hands-on. We like to think of especially like environmental studies type of programs where you're collecting data or you're out in the field. Some programs where you're doing lots of interviews and qualitative research or quantitative research. So these are programs where you're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to be out and about speaking to local people and all of that stuff, a little less traditional in the classroom learning. And so this screen grab here is just a picture of our program search. And so you could find that through going on our website, which is www.brandeis.edu/abroad. And when you go to search a program, you can either search by program name or you can sort of organize by either the region you're interested in going to, languages that you might speak, what semester or summer you want to go, what you're studying, all of those things. And so we can help you sort of strategize around what are your priorities for study abroad? What do you feel like is a good fit for you? And how do we make the program search work for you in that way? So eligibility requirements, of course, a lot of people are curious about. So in order to study abroad for a year or for a semester, you have to be a junior or a first semester senior class standing. So we will help you figure that out. Usually that means that students are meeting with us anytime in their first or second year to kind of talk through what the best options are and how to start the application process. You have to have a 3.0 GPA in order to study abroad for a semester. You also have to be in good academic and judicial standing. And there are world language requirements. So depending on where you go, if you go anywhere or you want to go anywhere that speaks French, Italian, Spanish, or Hebrew, you have to have the equivalent of at least 2 semesters in the language at Brandeis in order to be eligible to go to those locations. For any other place in the world, if you are going to or looking at a country where English is not the primary language, then we would require that you take at least the intro level of the language while you're there. So, for example, students who go to Sweden will take Intro to Swedish Language and Culture. Students who go to Germany will take Intro to German Language, but you don't necessarily have to have a background in that before you go. And these are all things that we'll talk to you about more too as we meet with you individually and get to know what your background is. So another thing we like to talk about is how exactly the credit works, because that could be super confusing. So if you're going abroad for a year or for a semester, you are able to earn the equivalent of 16 US credits, or if you're going for the full year, 32 US credits. So what we try to help you do is figure out in the country or at the program that you're going on, how many courses does that equal? And what are those courses going to translate to in terms of Brandeis? So as long as you earn a C- or above in your courses abroad, they transfer back as general elective credit. And what you do both before you go abroad and when you come back is talk to your major and minor departments to say, these are the types of courses that I'm taking. Would they count for an elective, for example, or something like that? You can also fulfill general university or core requirements abroad. So if you have something like a creative arts or humanities or something like that that you want to do while you're abroad, you can do that as well. For major minor credit, it's really the decision of the study abroad liaison, who is the faculty member in each department who's specifically specializes in study abroad transfer credit. And so you'll talk to them as part of the application process, and they will, each department will have different rules and regulations around bringing credit back to Brandeis, and they'll talk to you about that. And the official process of approval is done once you return from abroad. So on the topic of health, wellness, and safety, we are here to support you as the Brandeis Study Abroad office. Your program is also there to support you. So there's lots of layers of support and safety and monitoring and everything like that. So before you go, we will have a pre-departure workshop where we'll go through all of the important phone numbers that you need, how insurance works, all of that good stuff. This pre-departure workshop will be facilitated by our office. You'll also have individual ones through your program as well. So you'll have sort of the country specific and also the big picture kind of Brandeis preparation. We also have a reorientation workshop when you come back to help you kind of reacclimate to Brandeis and talk through where you've been and kind of get a sense of how it will translate to your work going forward and your life going forward. We also monitor global activity daily related to safety. So we are on many listservs where we see what's going on around the world. If we see that there is any sort of natural disaster or anything like that in the country where you're studying abroad, we'll immediately reach out to you to check in and make sure you're okay. We'll immediately reach out to your program. So we know what's going on around the world, and we're monitoring that in conjunction with your program. So in terms of the program support, the kinds of things that they would provide are an orientation when you get on site to acclimate you to the country itself and to make sure you know the 24/7 emergency numbers, who to call if you have problems, all of that. They also provide 24/7 on-site support, and each program will have you enroll in some sort of international insurance, which will go on top of your US-based insurance to provide additional coverage while you're abroad. Of course, COVID-19 is on everyone's minds and is still, unfortunately, a thing that we are contending with. Students are studying abroad this semester. They did study abroad last semester in the fall. So it is a very personal choice, and we know that there's risk involved with studying abroad, whether or not it's during a pandemic. So as advisors, we're here to help you talk through whether you are feeling comfortable with that, what sort of your level of risk is, what your level of comfort is, and talk through any kind of policies or procedures on the different programs. So the programs will be the specialists on what's going on in country and on site as things continue to change and evolve. The programs have been running at least in the past year. So they have lots of protocols and they have lots of backup plans, and we can help you make those as well as we continue to chart through the unknown. So for semester abroad, you keep paying Brandeis tuition and required student fees while you're abroad. So that way, if you have financial aid or scholarships on your account, that should remain on your account or travel with you. Nearly all financial aid and grants are transferable to a semester or a year abroad, and we'll have you talk to your student financial services counselor to see the specifics of that. Any non-tuition costs, so room, board, your flight, things like that, will be billed to the student directly from your program or will be out-of-pocket costs. So we'll help you to budget all of those things, see what the meals are. We can look at like what your program estimates for out-of-pocket costs, things like that. And there are scholarships available. And I saw a question in the chat, Emma, about whether this is the same for summer. This is only for semester. For summer abroad, we'll get to it in a couple of slides, but this is just for a semester. So for summer, the way the finances work for summer is you pay a $400 off-campus study fee to Brandeis. Everything else you pay directly to the program. So whatever the program costs are on the website are the costs that you would pay to the program, just plus $400. The thing about summer study abroad is that not as many financial aid or scholarships might transfer to it. So we can talk more about what scholarships you might be eligible to apply for through your program or things like that. Some reasons people decide to study abroad in the summer, maybe instead of the semester, it does help you jump ahead kind of academically and earn Brandeis credit. You could still fulfill similarly core requirements or major minor requirements. It could help you get ahead in language. Or it could give you, we have a lot of programs over the summer who could give you kind of an internship or research experience along with classes. Programs over the summer are generally between 5 or 6 and 10 weeks, 5 to 12 weeks. And students usually earn 8 credits. So usually over the summer, you're taking 2 classes instead of 4 or 5. And you can study abroad over the summer anytime after your first year. So that's the great thing about summer study abroad is that you can do it pretty much anytime, whereas during the semester, you wait until your junior year. So a few highlights of summer programs. These are the Brandeis run study abroad programs. So they're either taught by Brandeis faculty or in collaboration with Brandeis faculty. And so they are in a few different areas. They're with all Brandeis students. Sometimes there might be a few students from other institutions as well. But Brandeis in Copenhagen is specifically focused on business and economics in Denmark. So that one is cool. Brandeis in Siena is art focused, but not just for studio art majors. So if you still have your creative arts to fulfill, check out Brandeis in Siena. And that is making, seeing, and mastering art in Tuscany. So it includes some studio time as well as art history classes. And then Brandeis in Merida is our new Brandeis Run program that will hopefully be starting this summer. And it's public health in the Yucatan Peninsula. So it's really good for HSSP majors, pre-health students who are looking for some kind of hands-on experience and different angle on public health. Students have gone to Merida in the past and had a great experience. So this is one that we're especially excited about. So of course, what you're probably wondering about is when do I have to do all this by? So the way the application process works is that you'll usually have 2 separate applications to complete. There's the Brandeis side of things through your online portal that usually the biggest components of it are the essay. So really short answer questions, exploring kind of the things that we'll talk about in your one-on-one meeting. So why is this a place you're interested in? What's a challenge that you foresee in thinking about study abroad and how would you kind of navigate that? Academically, what interests you about the program that you've chosen? Those types of things. There is a part where you would propose courses that you will want to take abroad. And that is when we had talked about talking to your faculty and major minor departments, that is the kind of form that you would give to them to say, this is the kind of types of courses or type of schedule that I'm looking at building for my semester abroad. And then sometimes there is a faculty recommendation required. So it's nice to think about who you've built relationships with on campus, who might be a good faculty member who could speak to your talents in the classroom. And then you also complete the program application. So the program application is what you complete for admittance to the actual program. And those will vary depending on the program. Some of them will require a recommendation as well. Some of them might require a personal statement. Some are more of like online forms that you would submit. And so the deadlines for this year, if you're thinking about fall 2022, spring 2023, or all of next academic year, you'll want to apply by February 17th, so a little more than a month. And then if you are interested in this coming summer 2022, counterintuitively, that application is actually due a little bit later on March 17th. So the Brandeis side for the summer is due on March 17th. Some programs might be due a little bit earlier. So if you're thinking about summer, you might also want to make an appointment to chat with us in the next month or so. This program applications will vary a little bit depending on the program. Some might fill up faster than others. So it's good to get started early. Okay, so what can the Office of Study Abroad do for you? So we've got advising appointments. During break, we're doing Zoom appointments. We're also happy to chat in person once we're back on campus, but we have a booking portal that I can put in the chat where all the advisors have their free time or their open time slots, and you can just go in and schedule a half-hour meeting with someone. Definitely recommend doing that sooner rather than later. Study abroad ambassadors, as I mentioned before, are students who have been abroad before. They know what the process is like. They're there to help you read through your application, make sure your essays are on point, give you insight into the things that they packed or wish they hadn't packed, all of that good stuff. There's also something called abroad101.com, which I explain as kind of like a Yelp for study abroad programs. So every student who's been on a Brandeis study abroad program has had to do an Abroad 101 evaluation when they come back from abroad, talking about their program. And it covers things like not just the academics, but also what was the housing like? And how often did you find yourself using public transportation? What did you eat while you were there? All of those kind of things that you can't always get from the website. So that's good to check out. We'll also have events throughout the year, which you may have gone to our study abroad fair in the fall. We'll also have things in the spring too. Our website has a ton of information, so feel free to just take some time and pour through that. It could be a little bit overwhelming, but there's definitely a lot of good information there. And your programs will also have websites with tons of information, or also either study abroad ambassadors of their own or advisors in their program who can also help support you or get you more information on what things look like day to day on the program. Other stuff we provide is support while you're abroad. So just because you're not on campus does not mean that we're not still talking to you. We have emergency management alongside with the program. We're talking to your programs all the time while you're abroad to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And we're also happy to just have conversations and give you resources to support your various identities or anything else that you might need while abroad. So if you are the first in your family to go abroad or to go to college, we're happy to talk to you about what resources or materials might be relevant for you. And if you're interested in scholarship opportunities, we do a lot around scholarships and financial aid as well. So happy to talk about those things too. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us by email, abroad@brandeis.edu. I will put the appointment booking link in the chat. I'll also put the link to the first steps, which is how you create your online study abroad account, into the chat. And then if you're not following us already on Instagram, you definitely should. It's at Brandeis Abroad. And I'm happy to answer questions if you've got any more questions, so feel free. I'll go ahead and stop recording now.